Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here. My name is Andy Frisky, and I work with the American Family Insurance DreamBank. On behalf of the entire team, we're so thrilled to have you all with us here today for this wonderful event. As we get started, we always like to kick off and learn where people are tuning in from. So if you are comfortable in doing so, I highly encourage you to do that in the chat section. I am overlooking an overcast day here in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. For those of you who have attended our virtual or in-person events in the past, welcome back. And for anyone that is joining us for the first time, we'd love to take a couple moments and introduce you to DreamBank. So here at American Family Insurance, life's better when you're under our roof, because when you feel totally supported and protected, any dream is possible. And that's why we created DreamBank. It's an inspirational community destination and virtual experience that is designed to help people pursue, achieve, and protect their dreams. Um, at DreamBank, there's something for every dreamer. From weekly events to immersive signature programs, special events, and on-demand content, our free programming and resources are designed to bring you inspiration, motivation, and support no matter your interest. So check out our upcoming virtual and in-person events at amfam.com/DreamBank and reserve your spot today. Before we go ahead and kick things off, though, I would love, again, for you to I'll drop that link in the chat today just to kind of check out some of our upcoming programming. But I'm really excited to introduce the moderator for Q&A for this event, Haley Tenner. So Haley is a lead sustainability and community advancement specialist at American Family Insurance, where she advances the company's climate and community advancement efforts. She has a BA in religious studies with a concentration in social and ecological justice and an MA in social innovation and sustainability leadership from Edgewood College in Madison, Wisconsin. Haley is especially interested in the connection between sustainability and mindfulness, climate resilience, and personal resiliency, and how healthy planet depends on healthy people. So I would like to welcome to the stage Haley Tenner.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning, everyone. And I have the honor of introducing our speaker, Kahya Fox. Kahya has been the executive director at Habitat Humanity of the Greater La Crosse Region since 2016. With over 20 years of affordable housing experience, she's worked with a variety of housing and community development programs, including neighborhood revitalization, rehabilitation, weatherization, housing counseling, flood assistance, and land trust housing. So welcome, Kahya, and with that, I will pass it over for your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Haley and Andy. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm looking at all of the chats, and I see a lot of familiar names. And I see La Crosse, Wisconsin, which is pictured on the first slide as some of the representatives. So hello to everybody in La Crosse, and hello to everybody who joined us today. So as Haley said, my name is Kahya Fox. I'm the executive director at Habitat for Humanity of the Greater La Crosse Region. We are an affiliate of Habitat for Humanity International, and we serve 4 counties in the state of Wisconsin and also 1 county in Minnesota. So in 2022, Habitat for Humanity really kind of took a step back to take a look at what our strategic goals were. And one of the things that we really wanted to put into the work that we were doing was highlighting the sustainability work that we're already doing at Habitat for Humanity, but also looking at ways that we can expand and do more for our communities. Because at Habitat for Humanity, we understand that we build homes, and homes are really wonderful places where people can be safe and secure in their homes. But if we're not looking at the community around the homes and the sustainability and the impact of what those communities have on the housing that we're building, then why are we building homes in those communities? So first order of business is that we actually changed our vision statement at Habitat for Humanity. We really wanted to bring that ribbon of sustainability and the work that we do into the vision that we see for our community. So we changed our vision statement in 2022 to reflect this growing need in our community. So our vision is a Coulee region with ample quality housing, which is consistent with the work that we do at Habitat, but we also wanted to create healthy, sustainable communities for everyone. And so what we see at Habitat is, building affordable homes is very, very important, and building safe and sustainable homes is important, but it has to go hand in hand with caring for the environment around us. So we want to create vibrant communities that people actually want to and can live in. So Habitat for Humanity, taking a step back, we were actually established in 1992. And again, there's the counties that we serve in Wisconsin and Minnesota. And since 1992, we have built over 80 homes for first-time low-income homeowners. But what we're seeing at Habitat and across the United States is a greater need for affordable housing. We're seeing the housing prices rising much faster than our wages, and we're finding more and more people kind of left out of that ability to have access to safe and affordable housing. And if you take a look at that second slide there, that's on your right, it really highlights the fact that affordable housing has actually been hit with a double whammy. So not only has the average home price increased faster than wages, but the home price for that affordability level of homes, so the entry level, the starter homes, has actually risen faster than any other type of housing out there. So if you're a low-income family, your ability to access safe and affordable housing has become exponentially more difficult, even compared to other types of housing out there. And this is a statistic that I found. It's a Midwest information that says approximately 2,000 households are priced out of the home buying market for every $1,000 average increase in median home prices. I mean, I really just want you to sit on that statistic. When you're talking about your community and you're talking about watching these home prices rise faster than we've seen in a very long time, every $1,000, that's 2,000 more people that can't afford to buy homes in our communities. And then if you want to take a look at what's actually being produced, so we talk about that affordability gap and that those starter homes, that workplace housing, is really getting hit dramatically. And so what we see is that kind of related into the amount of homes that are being built in that area. So the number of homes built at that starter level, under $200,000 price range, we're seeing that drop to almost nothing. And so at a time when the cost of housing, especially for individuals wanting to get into the housing market, is so huge, people are just not building those homes. So there's a lack of housing, there's a lack of affordability. And then if you take a look at Habitat for Humanity as a whole, we are also feeling that pinch. The cost of housing has gone up. And so what you're seeing is affiliates across the United States, the number of homes that we're building in our community going drastically down. And so when we talk about affordable housing and access to safe places where people can live safely, you're seeing less of that available for people in our communities. And so we decided that we wanted to kind of set that stage for safe and affordable housing. So we saw that in 2019, only 6% of the home on the market in the state of Wisconsin were entry-level homes, those first starter homes. And this is down from almost over a third of the homes being built in 1980. So we're seeing just a drastic decrease in the market. More than 2/3 of homes in La Crosse are very, very old, over 75 years old, and many of those are rental housing. So this goes to the safety of families finding homes in the city of La Crosse. And then 1 in 3 households in La Crosse actually spends more than 30% of their income on housing. And so this just compounds that issue of access to safe and affordable housing in our communities. But then when we kind of take a step back and talk about where are we as far as sustainability and impact to climate change? So we're talking about an older housing stock. We're talking about people that are having hard time accessing decent, safe, and affordable housing. But then if we take a step back and look at what is climate change making an impact in our communities, we're seeing also some very unsettling information. So from 1980 through 2018, La Crosse has experienced a 4.3% increase in the annual precipitation, and we've actually seen a 34% increase in heavy precipitation. We've seen 1.6-degree change in average temperature here in the city of La Crosse, and then additional high heat days and fewer days of extremely low temperatures. And so we've seen a drastic shift in the temperatures that we have. So we have poor access to safe and affordable housing, and we're seeing temperatures and the climate around us being more impactful to the families. So this is kind of what we are seeing. Some of the conditions based on the comprehensive climate action plan that the city of La Crosse put together. We're seeing even greater impacts in the coming years. And so by 2050, we're going to see even higher degrees, less more precipitation, more increase on air conditioning, lot more rain events, our days are going to grow longer, so impacts of allergies on people in our community is going to increase. And so as we see this kind of shift in our climate, we need to make sure that people are getting access to housing that is safe and affordable and can help protect people from these increased weather incidents. If you take a look at housing, one of the things that we see is that housing actually, then the construction of housing has an increased impact on the sustainability of the world around us. So if you take a look at housing and carbon footprint, homes are responsible for about 25% of all emissions. And I know we talk a lot about factories and larger industries as impactful on our climate. But when we take a look at, exponentially across the number of housing units that are out there, homes bear a huge burden in that carbon footprint. Single family homes themselves are responsible for 18 tons of carbon emissions. 2/3 of residential emissions are from electrical usage. And then single family owner occupied homes account for 3/4 of these emissions. So those standalone single family homes that people want to buy and live in have a greater burden on our carbon footprint. And here's the rub. Efficiency has increased pretty exponentially over the years in the construction and the use of our homes. But one of the things that we've seen is that as we get more efficient, our homes actually become bigger. So the square footage of homes over the years has rose about as much as we have seen gains in energy efficiency of our homes. So we're starting to negate some of those impacts through the construction of larger homes. So just some general, so not just the state of Wisconsin, but construction and demolition debris also has an impact on our solid waste and our landfills. 60% of most of the construction and demolition debris end up in landfills. So if we are looking at the impacts of landfills, we all know it impacts our biodiversity. There's instances of groundwater pollution. It impacts the health of the surrounding communities. And if we reuse materials, we actually can offset some of the landfill, the infill that we put into our landfills, and then also combats climate change by not having to create more and new materials. And so looking at kind of the sum of this, Habitat for Humanity is kind of in a prime place to take a look at sustainability as a portion of the work that we are doing. So if you take a look at this, this just gives you some more information about how building construction impacts global emissions. So the operations of the building, the construction, and other construction really takes up a big slice of the pie on global emissions. And so what can we do about that? What can Habitat for Humanity, taking a look at all of this data and all of this information, start taking a look at the work that we are doing? So we know that there's a need for affordable housing. We know that there's a need for stronger, more diverse communities, but how can we do that through the lens of sustainability so that we start offsetting some of the impact of the work that we are doing through the construction of affordable housing? And so this is a question. We recycle bottles. Why don't we recycle buildings? And I always talk to students when they come and tour, the Habitat Restore that we have here in La Crosse. And we talk about, recycling and what the commitments that they've made. And so we ask them, how many people use recycled water containers? So you stopped using water bottles and you refill up your own containers, and everybody will raise their hand. And, how many people are don't use disposable straws anymore? And you'll see a lot of people raising their hands. And how many people recycle their cans and other recyclable materials? And you'll see everybody raise your hand. And then you ask them, what did you do the last time, you moved or replaced a piece of furniture? And they say, well, we threw it out on the curb. And I ask them, how many plastic bottles, how many straws, how many cans went into that entire couch? So we're really okay with throwing a couch away because it's something that maybe happens every quite a few years. But when you think about the size of those materials, and when you think about the deconstruction of a home, how much material actually goes into a dumpster, and we don't think about it. We think about those small, minuscule impacts that we made, but not some of those bigger impacts that we can take a look at how we do it. So we talk about this idea of a linear economy. You know, we make something, we throw it away, it goes in the landfill. But we also then have started focusing on this idea of a recycling economy. And this is kind of the stage that we've set through, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. We really focus on that recycle stage, you know, so taking your cans and dividing your plastics and putting them in the green bins that go out on the curb, making sure that you're not throwing your cans in with the regular garbage. So we buy things, we recycle them, they get reused into something else. But this also takes energy to recycle those materials. And it's not as, it doesn't make as great as an impact as this idea of looking at our economy as a circular economy. Things don't go in the garbage, they get reused. And so, how do we look at the work that we are doing at Habitat for Humanity? And instead of looking at this linear economy, this recycling economy, how can we start using this circular economy of reuse? So, the really big, more impactful R of the reduce, reuse, recycle is the reuse. You know, so if we can reduce the stuff that we need by reusing materials that already exist out there, we can make a bigger impact on our environment. So what we did at Habitat for Humanity in 2022 is we created a standalone sustainability department. And so what we did is we focused resources in our organization to learn how we can look at this type of environment around us to make homes, to make communities, and to make the work that we do more sustainable. And we wanted to do that with a variety of different partners in the community, but really, how can we, as a large organization or community that uses a large number of resources, not only do more in the work that we do internally, but also how do we help those around us make good choices as they establish their communities, as they build their homes, as they, you know, put the furniture in their homes? How can they look to Habitat for support and information? So we understand that we are a community organization and we have to be some of the first on the stage to adapt to the challenges that face us today. So looking at all of that data that I sent you, some of the roadblocks and the things that we are doing in our community and seeing as trends, how can Habitat step up and kind of pave the way for other organizations, other community members to do the same thing? And one of the things that we wanted to focus on is the idea that most of the time when we're talking about the work that we're doing for low-income families, they are disproportionately left out of those conversations. So when you talk about renewable energy, when you talk about reuse of materials, a lot of times this is something that's being done for individuals that have the means. You know, a lot of the tax incentives and whatnot are going to individuals that can afford to put these types of things on their homes, can afford to do those types of upgrades. It's the low-income families that have the harder time accessing it, but they have a greater need. When you talk about the impacts that renewable energy can have on our energy bills. You know, when we talk in Wisconsin, we have really hot summers and we have really cold winters. And so for our families, you know, their housing bill is their largest bill that they pay every month, but typically the second highest bill is their heating and cooling costs. So how can we make an impact on the environment while also helping to support the low-income families in our community? So we did. We put together the sustainability department. We currently have 3 full-time staff that work in this department doing work all around our community. And we're going to get into some of those things that we do at Habitat for Humanity, and then talk a little bit at the very end about things that you can do to make an impact and some of those first steps that you can take. So we wanted to make an environmental impact. And so our sustainability department actually focused on 2 kind of different things. How can we make an impact within the work that we do at Habitat? And then how can we take that and provide a broader community impact? So you can see some of the things that when we formed the department, we really wanted to focus on. So the idea of renewable energy, waste reduction, stormwater mitigation, and native plantings in our environmental impact on the work that we do, but also focus on the communities around us and really look at ways that we can find other collaborations to further the work that we're doing at Habitat. So the first one was already one that already existed at Habitat. I'm sure most people on this call have at least heard of a restore. Hopefully, most people have visited a restore in their area. Habitat's restore is actually located in the city of La Crosse, and we are fortunately located right next to the county landfill. So we are in a very unique position in which people can drop off items at the restore on their way to the landfill. So there's a really great diversion piece just by the benefit of where we are located. So as of 2023, we divert over 9 million pounds of material from the landfill. We this is that cyclical environment that we talk about. We extend the life cycle of materials by bringing items that are donated into our store and then reselling them to the public. We do take it a step further, though, here at our Habitat Restore. We actually have a recycling room where we have volunteers that take apart electronics and appliances, and we actually remove metal. So from the cords, from kind of the guts of those materials, and we separate them by type and then recycle those metals. By kind of dividing it up by the type of metal, we actually get more money from the recycling. And then that money that we get actually goes right back into the work that we do at Habitat, but it is also a way to keep some of those electronic and metal materials out of the landfill. In addition to the Restore just being a beautiful place for people to reuse and bring unused materials, we also kind of practice what we preach on site with our actual physical location. So the Restore is actually a stormwater learning site. We actually have installations and then educational signage all around the store that talks about stormwater mitigation, its importance, and then actual real world things that you can do at your own property, at your own home, to kind of pass this forward. So we have rain gardens, we have a large number of native plants. We actually bring in a lot of students from a variety of middle schools, high schools, and universities to tour and talk about our learning site. And then we have done a full electrification of the building. So all of the light bulbs in our Restore are LED, and we have a full solar array that you can see in this picture on the roof of the Restore. So other than very peak days, our electrical costs are pretty much zero at Habitat for Humanity. The next program that we launched and has been greatly increased with the help of our sustainability department is a program that we call Reclaim. And Reclaim is a program that uses volunteers to go into homes and businesses that are undergoing major renovations or going to be demolished. And we remove as many materials as we possibly can from these buildings. This picture on here is actually of a barn that we took apart piece by piece. So when we were done, we took every single piece of material from this barn and brought it to the Restore for resale. These materials then are either sold at the Restore, and the profits from those sales go into the mission work that we do at Habitat for Humanity. But we also remove items that actually go directly into Habitat homes that we are either building or remodeling. This is a huge impact, not only to the environment, but for property owners. You know, they save money on their construction projects. There's less tipping fees for their dumpsters, but more importantly, it disrupts that make, take, and dispose approach. So, you know, you have to take something down, throw it in the garbage before you do something new. We have some of the most unique items that we have reclaimed through this program, antiques, historical materials, and that just helps local heritage and the stories kind of move forward and continue in our community. If you take a look at some of the outcomes, the Reclaim program since its inception in 2018, and you can kind of see where it made a drastic jump when we put together our sustainability department. But we have diverted 658,000 pounds of material from the landfill. We then kind of turned more internally back to the work that we are doing in our home construction programs. How can we do more sustainable work in our community? And this picture, actually, you can't see it, but we're actually installing a deck on a rehab home, and the deck we had removed from a home that was being demolished. So we literally took a deck off of one home and put it on one of our Habitat homes. One of the things that we did is we shifted from all new construction, so stick built from the startup homes, and we started doing rehabilitation. So we would purchase and rehab homes rather than build new. We use donated and salvaged materials. Homes are built to focus on energy certification, and then those savings are passed on to our homeowners. We actually built our first solar home in Arcadia, Wisconsin. So this is a home with a full solar array on the roof that meets the majority of the electrical needs of that home. And then we were really excited last year. We received funding from the Public Service Commission to put an additional 10 units of solar on housing that we are building in Hillsborough. And so this will be, again, full solar arrays on the roofs of these homes, but it also comes with solar backup for all of the units. The next thing that we did is we took a look at how we approach our new construction homes. There is a lot of waste that is linked with new construction. You come out to a Habitat site or any other type of construction site, and one of the first things that arrives is a dumpster. And that dumpster is for all the waste that comes off of constructing new homes, new businesses, any new space. And so what we started looking at was the idea of shifting some of our new construction into factory built housing. Factory built housing is, obviously exactly what it sounds like. It's homes that are built in factories, and they are built basically by computer design. And so if you take a look at what the construction debris from the construction of a single factory built home, most of that construction debris literally fits in like a regular garbage can. Whereas construction debris on one of our single family homes can actually fill multiple dumpsters. And so looking at that as an efficient way to build housing. But we specifically looked at cross mod homes. And these are houses that are coming in there's meant to be put on permanent foundations. They have a lot more curb appeal than your traditional factory built home because they have a porch and attached garage that is part of that overall aesthetic for the home. These homes are actually built to a federal e-build standard. So they're anywhere from 30 to 50% more energy efficient than your average stick-built home. These homes are actually meant to be fully electrified. So, heat pumps are part of the standard for these homes. They are meant to be appraised as site-built homes, but the base price that we're paying for these homes is about $108,000. So this is one of the things that addresses kind of all of those needs that we were talking about at the beginning. Access to safe and affordable housing. It addresses kind of that decrease in home production that we're seeing across Habitat affiliates, while also maintaining that desire to be more sustainable and energy efficient in the work that we do. So we are actually putting 10 units of cross-mod energy efficient housing into a project that we're doing in partnership with Hillsborough, Wisconsin. This is a small rural community on the very kind of east side of Vernon County. And this is kind of the breakdown. We're going to be doing 10 new homes. 3 of them are traditional Habitat homeowners. 3 of them are first-time homeowners, and 4 of them are going to be market rate. So this is truly going to be a mixed income community that is addressing the housing needs at a variety of income levels. And if you look, these houses are just extremely beautiful homes. These are literally interior pictures of the houses that we are building in Hillsborough. And so they're meant to be homes that people want to live in, with also having those benefits of energy efficiency and less impact on the environment. So you can see, these homes are on permanent foundation. They have all of the enhancements that you would see in a traditional stick-built home, with the addition of standard, very energy efficiency add-ons. So you can see, these are pictures of the homes that we'll be placing in the city of Hillsborough. And again, you've got that really great curb appeal. You've got that reduction of construction materials. You have increased energy efficiency, but price points that are affordable for low income homeowners. And this is why we took a look at factory built homes, is the idea that it kind of ticks all of those boxes that we are looking at as an organization that wants to be more present in the need for affordable housing while also making sure that we're doing it in a sustainable manner. So we are seeing homes and being able to build homes faster. It's about 4 to 6 weeks from order for a home to be completed and delivered on site. More cost effective, it's about 25 to 50% cheaper in total overall development costs to build factory built homes than it is to build stick built. So we're seeing, the average square foot cost for Habitat homes is about $136 per square foot. Our modular homes are about 80% or $80 per square foot. So a significant reduction in costs, meaning that we can build more homes at a time when home construction is reducing. And it's also greener. All of these homes are coming with Energy Star certification. They are, again, 30 to 50% more energy efficient, and there is far less construction waste associated with the work that's being done in the factory. The next thing that we did was we created we are the kind of the lead on the La Crosse Area Waters program, which is a collaboration that is supported by the La Crosse Urban Stormwater Group. It's actually 11 municipalities that work together to educate, advocate, and collaborate to create healthy waterways. So La Crosse sits on the Mississippi River. We are especially proud of our location and the beauty of our area. And so what can we do as partners to do a better job of sustaining our beautiful waterways? And so we have a variety of different things that we do, including some massive outreach education to help reduce the amount of pollutants that go into the Mississippi River. We also are the co-collaborators for another collaborative called the Fishers and Farmers Partnership. Fishers and Farmers is actually one of 20 different fish habitat partnerships that are supported by Fish and Wildlife. We again coordinate with fishermen, farmers, and other government agencies to provide not only education and support, but also funding to do preservation type work supporting the Upper Mississippi River Basin. This is my favorite program, and this is one of our newest things that we've added to the work that we're doing as part of our sustainability programs. Again, we talk about building sustainable homes, but if we're not doing a good job making sustainable communities, then why are we building homes in those communities? So Renew the Block is kind of a reimagining of a program that we had at Habitat for Humanity, but really adding that truly sustainable piece. So what we are doing is something that's never been done. So Renew the Block is a program that takes pieces of a variety of different types of programs and kind of lumps it all into one. So Renew the Block takes 4 different kind of critical elements and puts it together. So home repair, urban agriculture, stormwater mitigation, and then centered on the idea of making sure that all the work that we are doing is spread throughout the community through educational efforts. So Habitat for Humanity is actually focusing on a basically 2-city block within the city of La Crosse. It's actually 2 blocks that are right across the street from Logan Middle School. So there are 29 residential homes on this 2-block radius, and then also a middle school. And so what we are doing is we are putting in permeable pavers all up and down the street to help with stormwater mitigation. And so, and then also rain gardens in all of the boulevards along this block. So what we're trying to do is help municipalities understand that, when you are putting communities together, when you're tearing up a street, when you're tearing up a neighborhood to replace, roads or curb and gutter, there are different ways that we can put that back together to make our communities more sustainable. So showing the use of permeable pavers, boulevard rain gardens as ways that communities and municipalities can really do a better job of creating sustainable and climate-friendly communities. We also are providing access to food in a neighborhood that is considered a food forest and is comprised of mainly low-income families. And so we have installed orchards. There's going to be a food forest in the front of Logan Middle School. And then we're also planting food plots on all of the different residential units that are up and down that street. So the idea that people can access safe and healthy foods while also incorporating the education of agriculture into the school system. So students at Logan Middle School will learn how to grow, cultivate, and use the foods that are being grown in the front of the school. Community involvement is also very important. So we do a variety of different volunteer days where we invite people to come and help us. When we planted trees as part of our orchard, we had somebody there to help us understand how to plant, grow, and maintain fruit trees. We've hosted a variety of different classes in the community, and then we've also integrated this into the curriculum within the schools. And then the final thing we talk about is repairs. So not only is the school getting a lot of work, but we are also doing critical home repairs on all of the residential units up and down the street. Every single home now has a usable gutter system. So if they didn't have them or they had systems that didn't work for the property, we now have stormwater mitigation and proper rain diversion for every single home on this block. And then we've had a variety of different volunteer days, and we'll have additional volunteer days this summer where we are bringing in members of the community to help make necessary repairs on these homes. So a lot of accessibility and small aging in place upgrades for all of these homes. So as we wrap this up, I want to talk about kind of what we want to do at Habitat with our sustainability programs over the next few years. And as we, again, strategically plan to meet the needs of our community while also understanding that climate change is something that is going to be a part of the work that we are doing. So we are looking again at how can we expand our community partnerships? You know, who are the people in our community that we can work with, not only to do the work that we've already done, but also to find other innovative solutions to create more sustainable housing and more sustainable communities. We really want to look at opportunities for low-income families, not just new homeowners, but existing homeowners, to create incentives for them to do sustainable constructions, renewable energy, really get kind of outside the box opportunities for families that need it the most to access some of these resources. We're hoping to find individuals in our community that this type of work really speaks to them and will support us through funding and opportunities to provide this work to more and more people. And then really that idea of not only having community partners, but taking a look at how nonprofits and other public agencies can also collaborate on the work we're doing. So we talked about how can we work with our municipalities to do this work hand in hand with work that they are already doing, and how can we kind of bake this in to the structures and the processes that communities put together regarding redevelopment and community development. And so by the year, kind of thinking about where do we see ourselves in, a little less than 10 years is really starting to find innovative ways to bridge that gap in affordability when we talk about sustainable housing construction. So, one of the things that we talk about is that home construction prices, just the regular things that we need to build houses, has risen exponentially over the last few years. So it's more expensive just to build a standard home. And then when you start adding that sustainability on top of it, that's a bigger bridge that we need to gap in order to get these homes constructed. So how can we find kind of more ways to bridge that gap so that it's not an increased burden? It is something that is just kind of built into the work that we are doing. Again, I think we really need to work with our municipal partners in talking about what those communities look like. So when we talked about what, increased weather events, increased temperature events, those are going to make impacts on how people live within their communities. And so when we talk about, increased temperatures, can we work with our communities to make sure that we're planting enough tree canopy within our municipalities? And when We are starting to be in the heart of road construction in the state of Wisconsin. So you're seeing roads, curbs, gutters being torn apart. And instead of putting them back together the way that we've always done it, are there ways that we can be more sustainable, understanding that these impacts in the future are coming, and we can't, to be reactionary after they're here is going to be extremely expensive. And really, truly, taking it that step further. So when we do the work that we do in our communities, when we implement some of these different types of programs, also using that education piece, that voice that we have at Habitat for Humanity to help other people understand that impact and what they can do, little pieces they can take back home, so that we can really truly develop that idea of a circular economy in our communities. And so really just empowering everybody on the role that they can play and helping them understand what that impact can be. So thank you. I appreciate the time to have this conversation with everybody. And Haley, do we have any questions?
Yeah. Kaya, wow, this is incredible. All the way from Habitat's updated vision statement to the sustainability department to the boots on the ground projects that are having such a direct impact on folks in your community. So thank you for doing what you do and for sharing it with us this morning. And you're right, I have a few follow-up questions for you. So um, as we know, a home is more than just a structure. It's a foundation for well-being for so many people. So, have you and how have you seen Habitat for Humanity's work directly impact the health of individuals and families in the La Crosse region, maybe particularly in relation to the sustainability initiatives that you're talking about?
Oh, absolutely. And, I love the idea of focusing back on health, because a lot of times that gets lost in the work of affordable housing individuals. So there are some massive correlations in health outcomes in regards to access to safe housing, but there's also massive impacts on health as it relates to climate change. And so if you really are looking at making impacts on the health of your communities, focusing on those two big impactful areas. So people spend a vast majority of times in their homes. And when we talked about, older housing stock, there's some massive relationships between, asthma, trip and fall hazards, mold, water infiltration, asthma, that is directly related to unsafe housing conditions. And so when we can move people out of that into safer housing, you have direct health impacts. But additionally, increased heat indexes in our communities has a direct correlation to the number of asthma incidents, and especially in children and the elderly. And so if we can find places that people can go and create communities that lessen the impact of that, it's also going to have health outcomes. Stormwater mitigation into the Mississippi River impacts our access to safe water. And so when we talk about the work that we're doing, a lot of times we fail to look at the impacts that the work that we're doing has on the health of individual families, but also communities as a whole.
Yeah, thank you. I think you've done a great job this morning explaining how all these different things, climate, stable housing, health, are all really inextricably linked. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Um, so let's see, could you give us maybe some specific examples of either innovations or technologies that you're excited about? You touched on the type of prefab housing, which I think is so cool. But do you have any other examples of things that you see coming or upcoming that you're excited about that could potentially be integrated into Habitat La Crosse's kind of strategy or projects moving forward?
Absolutely. So there's a couple things that we are kind of looking to the future on. I think one of the things is reusing materials more in the construction of our homes. So obviously the use of factory built housing has made a really great impact on, the amount of materials that are diverted from the landfill. But if we truly want to get behind, this circular environment, finding more ways to reuse materials from existing homes or businesses into the construction of our homes. And so, as the Reclaim program continues to grow and, gather support and momentum, how can we do a better job of reusing materials in our homes? So not just a deck, but how can we reuse doors and wood and all of the different things into the construction of our homes? And how can we do that in a way that it works, so that, moving something from one place to another, and does it fit with the construction of the homes that we're doing? How can we do a better job of that? And how can we think about it in a way that would be cost effective and timely in the work that we are doing? Some of the other things that we're looking at is how can we elevate the reuse of materials in the restore? And so how do we create and get materials, get donations that really truly drive what the consumer wants. And so, what are the things that people are looking for, and how can we partner with individuals and businesses in the community to really access the things that people are going to reuse? And so, how do we really truly get to the restore and the heart of the work that the restore does, to find things that people want to reuse? And so rather than just thinking about people dropping things off, how do we find the things that people want? Um, and then I think, one of the other things that we are really excited to do is, figure out ways that we can access financing or funding that will support sustainable installations on homes. So, I know that there was a lot of money that was put into solar through the IRA funding, but those dollars are going to go away. So how do we find innovative ways to either provide low-income financing or revolving dollars to continue to put these types of sustainable installations into the homes that we build?
Those are some great examples. I just particularly thinking of the Habitat Restore. I've found some of my favorite items at Habitat Restore. So I love the idea
Yes.
of how to keep kind of getting those cycled in. And also great point about the need for some creative financing solutions. You had it kind of tied in there, but I just might ask as a follow-up for either all or any of those, are there any like any challenges or barriers that you maybe seem kind of like particularly stuck on that
Mhm.
that are preventing any of those from happening?
So obviously funding, as how do we find the dollars to bridge the gap when housing is already more expensive than ever before? How do we make sure that we're finding funding and not losing focus on that sustainability piece in the work that we're doing? And then, I think there's still getting everybody else on board, on people understanding impacts that aren't quite here yet and planning for that. And so finding all of those people in the community that can come together and do work for things that are in the future. So understanding, how we put our communities together needs to change now instead of after the impacts start happening. I think is also a challenge.
Certainly. Well, for those of us who are inspired, um, if there is a certain way that someone would like to support a more equitable and sustainable future of housing, what are some practical steps that we can take either individually or collectively to make a meaningful difference?
I think one of the things that people miss is that, every single nonprofit that exists out there has an opportunity to add more sustainable practices to the work that they're doing. Whether it's internally, so, you know, changing out all of your lighting to LED, or recycling within the office space, or creating work from home programs. But how can nonprofit organizations be more sustainable? How could businesses be more sustainable? And then so thinking about that and finding the resources and the information out there to start making those steps, no matter who you are, no matter what type of work that you're doing, understanding that these impacts are coming and what are some ways that we can get ahead of it, and how can we be more responsive to our environment, to our surrounding communities, our surrounding spaces that we use. Um, and then I think really that focusing on those partnerships, don't repeat things that are already being done. So Habitat for Humanity has a sustainability department, but we rely on the expertise and the work that has been as being done by other sustainable organizations in our community. So we work with a variety of different programs. So Grow La Crosse already does education in the schools about agriculture and growing. And so they are our partners in Renew. We don't know how to teach kids how to do sustainable work, but they do. And so they are a partner. And so, and then we find the ways and the resources to get them what they need to do the work that they're doing. And so a lot of times, we think we're going to be the ones that are going to do this work, but you need to take that look outside. Who else is doing it and bring them to the table and help them find the resources to do the work that you want to do. And so this idea of collaboration and not just thinking about other nonprofit organizations, but thinking about your municipalities and the people that work within those departments, and then also for-profit businesses that might also be doing some really great work. So, we have our Soak It Up project here at the Habitat Restore, where we talk about, stormwater mitigation, sustainable practices. That Soak It Up project, we've actually taken and helped other for-profit businesses get awards for the work that they're doing in their landscaping work on their properties, so that we're kind of highlighting other organizations that are doing similar work, and it's not always nonprofits.
I love that. I particularly liked that during your presentation, and just now you mentioned even like the kids that attend the schools near that Renew the Block project are benefiting from this as well. So yeah, I love you pointing out the need for public, private, all kinds of different partnerships to really have an impact. I think you're yeah, a great example of that. So given what you've shared and your experience, because we just started to touch on this, have you learned any key lessons about all of this connection between affordable housing and sustainability, maybe with, collaborative partnerships that you think that other communities in Wisconsin and even beyond could benefit from?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we learned is that more gets done when you truly focus on sustainability. So the work that Habitat for Humanity has been doing since forever has had these beautiful ribbons of sustainability that flowed through them. So, the Restore, its primary objective is to raise dollars for the work that we do at Habitat for Humanity. So the sale of the items in the Restore literally buy the materials that we use to build our homes. But there is such a sustainable piece to the work that the Restore is doing that truly resonates with people in the community. And so until we really truly created kind of that standalone department that is focused on sustainability, did we really start kind of paying attention to that and thinking about what we're doing in the Restore and how we're putting together our operations, how sustainability can play a role in that. So how do we talk about it in the community? How do we find people that want to donate, because it's not about habitat, it's about the sustainability and this, circular environment that really resonates with them. And so, you don't need to put together a standalone department, but maybe a group of individuals that thinks about the work that you're doing. So all of the different programs, the internal operations, where are some low-hanging fruit that you can kind of pick right now to make your organization more sustainable? Even just how can you talk about the work that you're doing through a sustainable lens? And so maybe not necessarily changing things, but understanding that sustainability needs to be part of the conversation. And then can you find partnerships? Can you find relationships that can help propel and grow the work that you're doing? And so what we saw is not only are we making a bigger impact, but we're accessing dollars and partnerships that we didn't know existed or didn't know that we could have, that actually helps our overall mission at our organization by talking about sustainability and making sure that that is, front and center in everything that we're doing. So, if we start a new program on our construction side, how can we make sure that that program is also sustainable?
I love this. This is right up my alley. Thank you for for providing so many good examples, and yeah, being able to share so much of what you've learned so others can maybe apply some of these things as well. Um, I think this is my last question for you, but looking to the future, what do you think is one of like the biggest opportunities um, on the horizon for individuals or families looking to access, affordable climate resilient housing?
So I think the money that has been coming, and I know that there's been some starts and stops to it, but there's a lot of dollars that are coming into our communities, and it's only recently. for solar and for all sorts of different energy efficiency and sustainable things. I think what you're going to see come out of that is a lot more innovation. And so there's going to be better ways at doing the work that we're already doing. And so really paying attention to that and seeing if you can, and there's going to be innovative partnerships that are going to grow up and crop up all around the United States. And so understanding that that's happening and pay attention to that. Are there things that are happening in other communities that you could utilize in your own community? Because, people are getting innovative. They understand that it's an issue, and there's really, really cool things happening all across the United States. So pay attention, stay tuned, and don't be afraid to call people up on the telephone or send them an email if they're doing something that really resonates with you, and see if it's something that you can replicate. Who are their partners? And ask the questions like you did. Like, what were some of the pitfalls that happened that we can avoid if we want to do something similar here? But I think it's just really important to start. There's a lot of things happening, and there's going to be a lot of innovation and stuff coming out over the next few years. So, starting even at a base level, so that as this stuff happens, you're ready to react.
I think that's great. That's great advice. I think for everyone, for all things, don't be afraid to start. Especially these large complex issues like we're facing right now with housing or climate resilient housing, affordable for all. So that's it for me. Kahya, thank you so much. Really, this is really, really giving me some energy. So I'm going to hand it off to Andy, I think, to kind of take us out. But on behalf of myself and again, all folks on the call, thank you so much for sharing the work you and everyone in La Crosse is doing.
No, thank you. And thank you everybody for being a part of this. And I did put my contact information up. And so if anybody is interested in asking some more questions, feel free to reach out.
Perfect. That was we had a question in the comment from Megan asking about that. So thank you so much. And to kind of echo Haley's sentiment, such a wealth of information, and thank you so much for highlighting the wonderful work that Habitat La Crosse and Habitat for Humanity is doing as well. As we kind of wrap things up here, one last housekeeping item is we put on all of this content for the community that we serve. So there will be a short follow-up survey in regards to this email. Would really love for you to take just a few minutes to complete that. It really helps us kind of guide and dictate the content that we put out for our community. And with that being said, Kahya, we here at DreamBank, we are a community that is built up of fellow fearless dreamers, and we always like to ask our presenters, what's one piece of advice you have for someone who is actively pursuing a dream right now?
Oh, I think the biggest thing is bring people in on your dream. Don't be afraid to share it and ask people to share in that dream and what are some ways that they can make it happen. Because we never get anywhere by just dreaming. It's bringing people into that dream.
I love it. I love it. Thanks so much again, Kahya, for taking the time to share this this message here today. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to join us here. With that being said, we will go ahead and cap it there, and we will see you all next time. Take care.